there. I'm Michelle Lynn, Global Head of Data Science and Insight for the Bloomberg Media Organization, and I'm joined by Paul Schroeder, QQQ Equity Product Strategist for Invesco's QQQ Sponsor Spotlight, Rethinking Innovation. Welcome, Paul. Thank you so much for being with us here today. Should we jump right in?
Sure.
All right. So just as a reminder, can you tell us what QQQ is?
Sure. So QQQ is a passive index-based ETF that seeks to track the NASDAQ 100 index. Now, the NASDAQ 100 index is comprised of the 100 largest non-financial companies listed on the NASDAQ stock exchange. So where we've seen Qs really fall is within the large cap growth bucket. And because of the great work that NASDAQ has done attracting technologically focused and innovative companies to list on their exchange, we've seen Qs do rather well throughout the years.
So the appetite to invest in innovation has grown. How has that benefited QQQ?
Sure. So if we think of the way that technology has changed, throughout the years, and some of the major technologies that really influence the way that we live our day-to-day lives and have the potential to change the way we live and work in the future, many of the Qs companies have been at the center or adjacent to those technologies. If we think back to things like the rise of the internet, the dawn of social media, the pivot to people using smartphones, I should say, and obviously more recently the focus on AI, many Qs companies have played a significant role in bringing those technologies to market. And overall, why is that? Is that we see Qs companies really have a focus and an ability to adapt and innovate. Now, it's important to keep in mind and focus on how do you really quantify innovation. And we really quantify innovation in two different ways. First, we look at research and development spending. And what we've seen is that your average Qs company is outspending your average S&P 500 company by about 2 to 1 within research and development. If you take out those NASDAQ 100 companies from the S&P 500, that multiple increases to about 15 to 1. As I mentioned, patent activity is the second thing we really look for. And for example, last year we saw about 40% of all natural language processing patents filed across the globe by a NASDAQ 100 or Qs company. So what we're seeing is that these Qs companies obviously have a high propensity to innovate throughout the years, and we believe that has led and contributed to the fundamental growth that these companies have seen throughout the years, and obviously the strong performance. The Qs are coming off their best calendar year performance, where in 2023 the fund was up by about 55%, and since inception, the fund is up cumulatively and outperforming the S&P 500 cumulatively by about 350%, or about 2% annualized. So, overall, we feel that the strong fundamental growth has really contributed overall. And to more directly answer your question, how has the Qs benefited? We've obviously seen more investors use the Qs within their portfolios, and the AUM has grown within the fund. It's represents about 26% of all large cap growth ETF assets in the world.
So who is driving the growth?
Yeah, so we see a lot of different users really driving the growth. The assets now within the fund are at about $250 billion, and it's also the second most traded ETF in the world. So as I mentioned before, individual investors have really started to use it, financial professionals for their clients' portfolios as a growth engine of their portfolio. And due to the liquidity, we've also seen more sophisticated and institutionals use it to access the NASDAQ 100 over shorter periods of time.
So, as one of the oldest ETFs, QQQ is really a leader in the democratization that you're referring to.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, Qs have been around a long time. They turned 25 here in 2 weeks on March 10th, which we're very excited about. The Qs have really been around to see the individual investor rise to prominence. If we think back 25 years plus, how do you gain exposure to the NASDAQ 100? You call your broker, you pay a large commission to place trades in 100 different names, or you buy a mutual fund that executes at the close. Now, any of us can pull out our phone, download an app, place a trade for as little as 1 share and have it execute intraday. So really, we've seen the Qs provide a liquid, cost-effective, and tax-efficient way for any type of investor to access the NASDAQ 100, a basket of companies that have really changed the way we lived.
Well, Paul, thank you so much for sharing your insights on rethinking innovation as part of the Invesco QQQ Sponsor Spotlight.
Thank you.